Driving northwest of Rexburg in the high desert, I've joined outdoor journalist Kris Millgate early in the morning to try to find something magical: the sage grouse strut.
The males will put on this show where they puff up their chest and they fan their tail feathers and strut right past all the females, hoping that they get picked for mating. And that's how it goes every morning, and the sounds of the whole thing are all coming from the males. When they puff up their chest, it sounds like legs rubbing on satin sheath. And when they inflate and then pop those chests, it sounds like the cork on a champagne bottle. And it's just the repeat of that sound over and over. And then every once in a while you'll hear the beating of like a really fast drum. And that's the male's wings flapping when they fight each other. But you don't hear much of anything from the females. They're pretty quiet.
We start our morning at 6:30. It's still dark, and we're hoping to find sage grouse in a lek. That's L-E-K. Lek is where the birds perform their strut. This will be my first time seeing it. Millgate started reporting on sage grouse more than 20 years ago. She still remembers her first time seeing the 7-pound birds in person.
I absolutely remember that because I was pregnant.
Pregnant with her firstborn son in 2004, listening in the dark to the sage grouse in a truck with a biologist who was counting the birds.
And we sat in the dark, and we had the windows down, and we listened. And you hear the birds before you see them, and I love that. I love to hear them in the dark. That's my favorite thing because in my head I can picture what they're doing just by the sound of it.
The sun eventually came up, and by about 9 a.m., the sage grouse faded back into the sagebrush. That's when they checked the lek for feathers or to see if any birds of prey found them.
And as it got light enough in that situation and I was trying to get my bearings, I looked down at my kneecaps and I had crawled through bird poop.
Oh, no.
And it was smeared all over my knees. And I instantly started retching and gagging, and I was just heaved over in the desert, and the biologist was like, "Geez, Millgate, I didn't realize you were such a girl," some rude comment like that. And I think he was just surprised that I would be puking over bird poop, but I absolutely was. And I looked at him and I said, "I don't have a weak stomach. I'm pregnant and I have morning sickness, and now you know before my own mother knows."
Pretty memorable. Millgate is about to release a new documentary called Sage Wisdom West. It's about sage grouse and the importance the bird plays in the West in a habitat many people don't seem to value.
The load of garbage is just jaw-dropping out here. I mean, I pick up garbage every time I'm out here, and I think that it would be so fantastic if people realized the desert is not a dump. I mean, we're dumping on the wild house out here. We don't want anyone dumping on our house.
The sage grouse habitat has dwindled over the years, an 80% decline since 1965. The remaining habitat includes several states: Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. Most of us don't realize the birds are there. But if you stand still for a moment while in the sagebrush at dawn or dusk, you just might hear this. Sage grouse strutting in the leks, these open spots and seas of sagebrush.
Sometimes the leks are just bare dirt with a ring of sagebrush around it. Other times it's stubble fields. So that's ag, right? Agriculture. They'll go out in those stubble fields because it's really short and nothing blocks the view. And then sometimes they're in cow corrals right next to a water trough because the cows have walked around the trough so much that the ground's bare. They just want a bare spot so that nothing blocks their show.
The birds return to the same leks year after year. The lek we found on this morning kind of jumped out at us.
It was like a mirage. They just came out of the heat waves and put on a show to delight us for the ages.
We see a group of 25 or so males strutting their stuff, doing their best to catch the attention of the ladies. And guess what? They're surrounding a water trough.
I don't see any females. They may be in the bushes.
This happens for weeks until the hens have a nest and are caring for their eggs. In less than a month, the eggs hatch, and if you're lucky, you'll see the babies. Today, we feel lucky to find the men strutting.
I have never ever known this one was here.
A new one.
A new one.
While filming her documentary, Millgate traveled to multiple states and saw way more animals besides sage grouse. Even on this trip, the signs of other animals are everywhere. What's the most unexpected animal you've seen in sagebrush?
That porcupine the other day blew my mind.
Yeah.
Not because it was out here, but because of where it was. It was in the spot that a sage grouse would nest, tucked in under the sagebrush. I would never think to see a porcupine down there. Rattlesnake, you bet. Porcupine, I wasn't expecting that. It's cool to see moose, elk, deer run through here. That's a sage grouse. Okay.
Sage grouse sure don't like surprises. While driving to the lek, we accidentally flushed one up from the sagebrush. The birds are even more exposed while in the lek. That any unexpected movement can spook them. While watching the show, I may have stood up too tall to look at a possible animal burrow, and immediately half the birds flew away.
They're like, that's the tallest coyote I've ever seen. What is that? I don't know what's about. You blew our cover, all that crawling, and then you... I shouldn't have asked you to look in the hole.
That's all right.
You're worse than my kids in their pajamas.
I guess you can learn from my mistake. Stay close to the ground. Millgate has made a career out of shining the light on wildlife issues. From her journey following salmon from the ocean to their breeding grounds in Idaho to showing people what grizzlies are really like, she works hard to find the different perspectives related to these issues.
I don't want to tell you what to think on an issue. I just want you to think. And so I want to gather experts that come from all different perspectives and make sure it's a balanced approach.
Sage Wisdom West will have its world premiere on Thursday, April 2nd at the Colonial Theater in Idaho Falls. Other screenings will happen in Pocatello and Pinedale, Wyoming in the coming weeks, with a statewide broadcast on Idaho Public Television on April 22nd at 9 p.m. Millgate also has a new book called My Place Among Birds. It's her fourth book, going behind the scenes of her adventures.
My first priority is awareness. I'm in this element every day. I'm aware of it, but I realize not everybody has that privilege, and I want them to be aware of it. And so it's a privilege for me to bring them a story that helps raise their awareness for the natural world around them.
You can find more information about the documentary and book online on our website or at tightlinemedia.com. For BYU-Idaho Radio, I'm Brandon Isle.